Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the homestead. Well, it is a nice cool morning today, and today we're going to try letting the baby ducklings out for the very first time to explore the entire property. Until now, when they were real little, we had them in a tractor so that they would just be confined to that little area. Then we moved them to one of our animal pens that's probably 50 feet by 25 feet or so, a decent sized pen, and they've been in there for a couple weeks now. And today's the day we're going to try to let them out to free range and see if they will integrate with our other ducks. I tried to let them out yesterday, but because they're so used to being in their pen, even though the gate was open all day, they stayed in their pen. They never once came out. So I even tried to chase them out at one point, and as soon as I walked away, they went right back in. So I'm going to try something a little bit different today. I'm going to move their food and their water close to the gate in hopes that they will get a little bit brave and start to explore outside of the gate. So let's get going, and I'll give them food and water, and then we'll let them out and see what they do. I think I'll leave their water just inside the gate, but we'll put their food just outside the gate, and we'll see what that does. I need to get their food. It's in the quail room. Let's go check on the quail while we're in there. Looks like the quail are doing fine. Like these guys, the little guys here, need some water. This automatic feeder that I made for the quail is working out so great for the grow out pen. And then these feeders that I use in the breeders, they work really well too. I just need to fill them more often. I just had another hatch of quail chicks in the house. I think I've got about 20 of them in the house that are about a week old. So soon, these guys over here in this pen, some of these I'm going to be saving to replace some of my breeders. So some of my breeders will be going to the freezer, and then we'll be replacing them with some of these young ones. So it's exciting. I really am enjoying raising the quail. I think they're a real fun animal to have on the homestead. Even though we have a lot of space, I do enjoy raising these smaller animals. They are also, though, good if you just have a small backyard. They don't make much noise, they're not really messy, and you can process them without anybody really knowing it. So they'd be great if you just have a real small homestead. Anyway, we're in here for duck food. Let's take some duck food over to the ducks. This out a little bit because it's starting to sprinkle just a little bit. I don't want it to run off the roof right into their feeder. Alright, let's let them out and see what they do. My guess is they're still going to go that way back into the pen. We'll see if they find this stuff. Well, now that they've come out this far, I'm actually going to try moving their water further out than their food. Ducks are actually more motivated by water than they are by food, so I think if I move their water outside of the pen quite a bit, they'll go to eat, and then they'll come out to get some water, and then hopefully they'll realize that they have freedom.
days, these ducks don't care much at all about this food. They'll take a little bit of nibble and then they take off to find water and then to go foraging for bugs. They'd much rather eat bugs than this food, but we'll keep it here. They'll nibble on it throughout the day, along with the wild cardinals come and feed it their dish.
Well, let's head back to the woods. I want to show you guys the piglets and the progress that I'm making with them, getting them tamed up. We haven't even had them a week yet, and they're already getting pretty tame. So let's head back to the woods. I've got some things back there. I don't know if you guys can tell that it's starting to rain. It's supposed to rain on and off all day, so we're just going to have to work through the rain. If it stays like this, it's not bad at all, and it's actually great for the gardens. And once we get back to the woods under the trees, it probably won't seem like it's raining at all. So let's go. Morning, pigs. Yesterday, our friend Delynn came over and brought us some of the cabbage out of her garden, just the outside leaves and some of the heads that had too many bug bites on. She brought them over so that we could feed them to the pigs. And so what I've been doing is just taking them in and then feeding them by hand. They're actually getting pretty tame. If you remember a week ago when we got them, they wouldn't let me anywhere near them. Yesterday, these two right here actually let me pet them a little bit. So I'm hoping we can build on that today. I'm going to go in and see if they'll let me pet them. Now they're still a little scared if you make really fast movements, but I think if I just sit in there on my block here, they'll come up and let me feed them. Hi. Hi. Does that feel good? Ah, you like that cabbage? Yeah. This is definite progress that they're letting me scratch them and touch them. A week ago, they would have never let me do this. That little one back there is still the most standoffish, but she's getting pretty friendly too. Well, I'm definitely happy with the progress that they're making. I think probably another week or maybe two, and they'll be ready to be left out of this pen and have this entire area. They are going to have a blast with all of this good stuff to eat back here. Pigs are actually much better foragers than a lot of people give them credit for. You know, I think it's sad in these big industrial pig farms, they raise them on concrete or like on these graded floors so that they can't root around and they can't do all the things that pigs like to do. And really this type of setting and kind of a, you know, lightly wooded area is just exactly perfect for them. That's what they want. That's where they would live if they had a choice. So I'm excited. I love having the pigs. Well, 10 minutes ago it was thunderstorming. There was lightning and wind and storms, and now there's barely a cloud in the sky. This has been the craziest start to a summer that we've had since we've lived here in the Ozarks.
Well, it's just a crazy day.
Yeah, this whole day has been like that. It's been like these 10-minute storms that blow over that are like terrible storms, and they're gone in 10 minutes.
It's like, set up the camera, run out of the rain. Set up the camera, run out of the rain.
Right. But now we're back, and I don't see any clouds for as far as I can see now, so I think we've got a while until more rain is coming. So we wanted to talk to you guys today about a decision that we've made for the area that we're preparing for getting a dairy cow.
Yeah, we changed our mind.
We did change our mind, but we didn't change our mind about getting a cow. We still want a cow. We still plan on getting a cow. We just changed our mind about what type of fencing we're going to be using around that area.
This has ended up being a really big project.
Right. This project has been much bigger than we anticipated, which is why it's taking us a little bit longer because you know, on top of everything else we have going on with our greenhouse and all of our plant starts and getting the gardens in.
And the farmer's market.
Right, and all of that stuff. Finding the time to do this project has turned out to be hard.
A big challenge, yeah.
Right.
So the original plan was to do 2 separate paddocks that were split down the middle, all with field fencing, because we'd really like to provide a larger area for our goats to be able to live and forage in a more natural environment than, you know, this pen area, and then also have the cow in there as well with them, kind of sharing.
Right.
And so 2 separate paddocks so we could rotate them from one to the other, and if we ever needed to keep them separate for any reason or whatever. And we felt that field fencing was the best option because of the goats. Smaller holes for them to get through and all of that kind of thing. But there have been some significant challenges with that plan.
Right, because of where the area is, it will be hard to roll out that much field fencing to get it back there. I know we could do it, and I can even buy an implement for my tractor that would allow us to roll it out with the tractor, but that is pretty pricey, and I'm not sure it's something that I would use very often, so I'm not sure it's worth that investment. The other thing is, you know, T-posts are pretty expensive. I started pricing how many T-posts we would need to do that area, and it would be around 150 T-posts to do that area, and that would be putting them every 8 feet, which is what I think we would need if we were doing field fencing in that area. So that, I mean, $150 times, I think they're about $3.50 a piece right now. You know, it would have been around, you know, $400 or
just in T-posts.
$500 just in the T-post.
Yeah, and the field fencing was expensive.
Right, the field fencing. So we were looking at over $1,000, well over $1,000 for all of the fencing that we would need to do that area. Not to mention that that area is very rocky, and the thought of putting in 150 T-posts by hand wasn't all that appealing to me either. I'll admit to you guys, since I had my hernia surgery last winter, that there's some things that are more difficult for me now, and that motion of putting in T-posts is one of them, especially in really rocky ground like that. So if I can get away with putting in less, that's what I want to do.
So we've been trying to figure out a better way, an easier way, a less expensive way.
But still a safe and secure way.
Right, absolutely. So we've changed our minds on what we're going to do in that area.
Right. As you know, for our pigs, we use electric wire, and we have great success with it. We've tried electric netting for our goats in the past because we still want to be able to keep the cow and the goats together.
If possible.
If possible. So in the past, we've tried the electric netting for our goats, and really it didn't work very well at all.
So we feel there are 2 reasons why the electric netting didn't work well for our goats. The first reason is we didn't ever really train them. We just put up the electric netting, put them out there, and our goats like to climb up on fencing to say hello and, you know, try to get petted and those kinds of things, and they would do that on the electric netting, and it just wasn't working. Also, we just didn't feel like the electric netting for those bigger animals packs a big enough punch to get their attention and for them to not to go into it or try to get out and that kind of thing.
Right. So we started to do more research about alternative ways to fence in goats with electric fence. And really what we've decided to do is to do 6 or 7 strands of electric wire throughout that entire area, 6 inches apart. Well, the first few will be 6 inches apart, and then all the way up to the top, which will be about 48 inches up. Now, the cow won't be an issue. I'm almost positive that the cow won't be an issue. Cows, from my understanding, even though I don't have any first-hand experience, are fairly easy to fence. They will respect a fence pretty easily. In fact, all of our neighbors around here have cows, and all they use is 3 or 4 strands of barbed wire. They don't even use electric fence, they just use barbed wire, and the cows respect it a lot. So I don't think cows will be an issue. The goats are going to be the issue.
So we are going to be testing the waters a little bit before we jump into this for the goats out in the woods. And we're going to start that off with training them within their existing pen area, which is where we're at right now. We're going to be installing 3 wires today to start training them in this area, and then we'll do some testing in the pasture behind us here to get them used to it, and so they're a little bit closer to the house. You know, we're outside in this area all day, almost every day, and so if one of them figures out, they'll probably come running to us or coming to the milking room that we have. That's where we keep our feed. So I think it'll be easier for us to see if they can get out.
Right, but initially, like Sarah said, we're going to put 3 strands of electric wire inside of their pen area here, because just like we do with the pigs, what that will teach them is if they get shocked by the wire, they have to go backwards, not forwards. That's the main concern with electric wire, is that if the animal gets shocked, is that they will go forward through the fence instead of backing up to get away from the fence. So by putting it on the inside of a physical barrier, you teach them that they need to back up because it's impossible to go forward.
Right. So we've convinced the goats to go in one of our kidding pens, actually. So all 6 of the girls are secured in a nice, safe area. So we actually have a little bit of mowing to do in here, and then we'll get started installing that training wire.
So we're going to get busy, and we're going to get this hooked up, and we'll see how they react to it when we're all done. Despite what people say, goats are not great lawn mowers. They actually don't really like to eat that much grass. They would prefer to eat things like blackberry bushes and brambles and weeds and that type of thing, but actual grass, they're not that fond of. That's why we actually think it'll be great to have the goats and the cow together, because they kind of eat opposite things. So that's why I need to mow their pen before we can put this fence up.
I just noticed that the baby ducks just came out of their house, out of that pen area. I hope I don't scare them too much, but I want to show you guys. Oh, they're by the other ducks. They want to be friends with the other ducks, but the other ducks keep running away.
Alright, so we figured out what spacing we want for our training fence. We put these about every 7 inches or so. Because we have an existing fence, we kind of have to work around that just for this purpose. But it's about every 7 inches, ending at about 30 inches tall. So what we're using are 5-inch T-post insulators. So what that means is that these will stick out from the existing fence 5 inches. Which means, you know, the goats can get up to there, and then hopefully they won't try to get through. But if they do, they'll hit this fence. So that is how we will be teaching them to stay back. These just clip on the existing T-post, but these are also what we would be using out in the pasture, except shorter ones. We wouldn't need these 5-inch ones out in the pasture. So we're going to head and get these put on. We're not going to do all of these T-posts in here. With these, we really only need them about every 20 feet, so we're only going to do a couple on each side, and hopefully that will be good enough to start training these goats. Alright, so the way, again, that these work is that they just clip on the T-posts. You basically pull this part out. We're going to start these right here, and this part will just go on. Now, because, again, there's an existing fence here, it makes it a little bit harder. See if we can get it on here. Yeah, it's still clipped on. It just clipped the wire along with it, which is fine for the purposes that we're doing now. So that's all they do, and then on the back side there's just another little clip that goes around the back of the T-post, and those are really strong. Those will hold on really tight, so we'll be able to pull the fence wire pretty tight with these on. So we'll just go up every, like I said, about 7 inches until we have 4 of them on, and we'll do that all the way around the pen, and then we'll start putting on the wire. This day has just been crazy. Well, it's still raining just a little bit. It got crazy there for a couple minutes. There was hail and I mean, it was just coming down in buckets, and now the sun is shining again. We're gonna have to go take a look at the garden quick before we work on this project more, because I'm not sure what kind of damage that hail could have just done to our tomatoes and everything else. So we need to go look at that, and then we'll get back to work on this project.
Well, so far, so good. The beans look okay. The okra looks okay. Let's go take a look at the peppers and the tomatoes. Well, nothing's knocked down, so that's good. No, everything's good. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. When it started hailing in there, I could hear it on the metal roof of the barn, and then I saw it coming down. My heart just sunk. But it didn't last long, and the little, pieces of hail were only about the size of a pea. And so it looks fine. Oh, turn around and look at the steam coming off of the garden. Isn't that neat? And you can see just over here in the sky, that's all blue sky. And then just right over here, that's the storm that just went right over us and dumped a bunch of rain and 2 short cycles of some hail, and now it's gone. And it's warm and sunny again. There was even a small rainbow. Gosh, this is like the weirdest day ever. The steam is crazy. It's like foggy out now. Oh gosh. Let's go finish.
All right, well, I've got all of the T-post insulators on. We're again gonna do 4 strands for this test fence or practice fence. Sarah actually had to leave because she just had a reminder go off on her phone that it was time to go pick up her monthly Azure standard order, and so she needed to leave. So I'm gonna keep working on this while she's gone. I'm hoping that by the time she gets back, I'll have this up and running and be able to test it out with the goats. So I'm going to get busy putting the electric wire on. I'm just going to be using a standard galvanized wire, electric fence wire. I'm actually going to try to recycle some that I took down when we reconfigured the pig area, so that I don't have to waste brand new stuff on a practice fence like this. So I'm going to get busy putting that on, and then we'll get ready to hook up the Energizer or the fencer, and we'll see if we can get this working. Alright, so I've got all 4 strands of wire up all the way around the pen. I know you probably can't see it because it's so thin. But the next thing that I'm going to do now is take this red marking tape, and I'm going to tie this on every strand of the wire at different intervals around the pen. Now I'm doing this for 2 different reasons. The first reason is because I know that the goats are curious about things, and when they come out back into their pen area, they're going to want to investigate what this is. And when they do, they'll most likely touch the fence with their nose and get a shock. Now, I'm not doing this just to be mean, because I want to see them get shocked. I don't want to see them get hurt in any way. In fact, the fence won't hurt them. It will give them enough of a shock to startle them, and it may hurt a little bit, but it's not enough to cause any type of injury to them. But the real reason that I'm doing this isn't just so that they can come up and sniff it. It's because in their minds, what they will start to realize is that this red tape is where the fence is, and it'll become a psychological barrier to stay away from the red tape. So when we move them out to the pasture, I'll do the same thing. I'll put this on the fence. They'll know that this is where they need to stay away from, and they'll stay away from it. So that's why I'm really doing it. I'm going to tie this all the way around in different spots, and then we'll get ready to hook up the Energizer. All right, all of the red flags are on. I think that those will be perfect. I think those will help create that psychological barrier for the goats, that they'll know to stay away from those. So now we need to get busy setting up our solar Energizer for this. The first thing we need to do is put in a grounding rod, and then we can actually wire it up. All right, let's test it out. All right, looks like 4 kilovolts or 4,000 volts on each wire, which should be plenty to train these goats. I'm real happy with that. All right, I'm gonna get all of my tools cleaned up, and then we'll just get ready to let the goats out and test out the fence.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah's back from the errands that she had to run, so now we're going to let the goats out. I wanted her here to be able to see their reaction, so I held off a little bit, which actually worked out great because it rained again. So now we're going to finally let the goats out before it gets dark and see if they will explore this fence a little bit.
You want to come out? Watch out, Pepper. Well, the baby got it. Rory got it once. Coco got it. Well, we're gonna see how this goes. We're really hoping that we can make this work, that these goats will figure out how this electric fencing works so we can use that back in the woods, so we can move them out there and they'll have a really great time out there. The rain, we've had another rain shower and now it's gonna come back again, I think. So
right,
we need
sprinkling again right now.
Yeah.
Well, we had to move outside of the pen because the goats just won't leave the camera alone. So we saw 3 of the goats get shocked by the fence, and they did exactly what they should have done, which was back up and move away, and then they didn't come back to the fence. So hopefully that's a good sign. I think we'll give them probably a couple weeks with this fence inside of their pen. Then we'll try to set up a small paddock out in our current pasture and see if they respect that. And then we'll start working on putting fence up in the bigger area. But we need to make sure it's going to work first and that it's going to be safe for the goats.
You guys, I hope you enjoyed spending some of our day with us today, on and off actually, most of the day. We really appreciate it. If you're enjoying our videos, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Share our channel with people you know who would like it. And until next time, thank you so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.